You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Turn After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Turn After Show.
We have to wait for the hush every single week. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV, your one and only spot for after-show entertainment. We're here to talk about Turn, episode number 7. I'm gonna screw this up, I know it. Mercy, moment, murder, measure. Say that 5 times fast. Mercy, moment, murder, yep, can't do it, done.
M to the 4th.
M to the 4th, M squared, M cubed. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Hooks. We have an amazing panel today. There's so many people in this room, it's exciting and wonderful. So let's meet everybody, shall we? To my left, Captain Joyce.
Hello.
Has returned from the pickle jar again.
Feels good to be out.
Across the table, looking good as always, Lieutenant Megan Salinas.
Hey there, agents.
General Kristin Carole.
Hey, guys.
And we're excited. We've got special guests today. They love us. We love them even more. First off, Ian Kahn.
Hello.
Woo!
But for
Hey, Ian.
here and henceforth to be Colonel Ian Kahn.
Okay.
Also known as General Washington.
Also known as General Washington on Turn. And last but certainly not least, the birthday girl, Amy Gumenick.
Hello.
So I searched for a long time for a name for you and your rank. You are now and here henceforth Specialist Amy Gumenick.
Oh.
Yes.
Can I use that in life?
You may.
Yes.
Official stuff.
That can be your new Twitter handle, Specialist.
You could add it on your resume.
Correct people when I walk in. For
It's so
audition.
funny
it's
that-
actually specialist.
looking you up, like for Philomena, like at first it was just like actress, and then it was Philomena, and then you had like 3 different names up at one point on IMDb Pro for Turn because she's a master of disguise.
My favorite thing that they call her is the honeypot.
Yeah, never been called the honeypot before.
I mean, it was on the internet, so you put it there. There's a picture of you with honeypot definition.
It's a real thing now.
It's a real thing now. You are Specialist or honeypot, one of the two. We're in. Well, this is great. Let's talk about Turn. You guys ready?
Great.
Let's do this. All right, so we've got 7 episodes under our belt here, and we're getting into the intensity, if you will. So what'd you guys think this week? Megan?
This was probably my favorite episode so far. Like, I was biting my nails like the entire episode. Like, every scene was really suspenseful, and all the lighting in the cinematography and everything like that was really good. I loved how they played with light and shadows, and just everything built up. And I think finally we see a bunch of stuff that's been building all season come to a head, and it was just fantastic.
I really liked it. I'm so nervous for Caleb right now. Like they just got him on a horse, and then they didn't go back to it. So I was just like, oh, we don't hear about him that much in history books. Like, is that a bad sign?
Well, here's what I know. All great men in history have beards that do great things. And since Caleb has an epic beard, I think he'll be just fine.
I don't recall
There'll be
reading
more to
that
come
anywhere.
from Caleb.
Hey, George Washington over here has a beard.
Yes. He
Abraham
does.
Lincoln abolished slavery, had a beard. Caleb Brewster, saving the day, has a beard.
Well, George Washington didn't have a beard.
But Ian Kahn
Well, he
has a
one
beard.
now, yes, it's true. But,
And therefore,
yeah.
George Washington for henceforth has a beard.
No.
Nope.
But I have
Just
a,
the
and you
fact
have a
that
you
beard.
have a moment.
introduced
And it
one
looks great
is
on
good
you.
enough.
Yes. Joyce, what do you think?
I thought this was my favorite episode too. I agree with Megan, and I also think there was so much character development in this one. It was really cool to see a lot of the characters grow. Like I liked seeing Mary, for example, just progress. Her character was so different from last week and the week before. So yeah,
No,
it a
she
good
was
one.
so much more outspoken this
She
time. Like, I
was.
was really surprised. I was taken aback too. I was
Yeah.
like, oh
Yeah,
my
we're not used to
gosh.
seeing her like that, so
Yeah.
that's something that's new to
We
us.
saw a little taste of it when she confronted Anna. But then it's so funny that she's just like, I'm okay with you guys having an affair. And then as soon as she hears that might have happened, she was like, Maybe I'm not. Can we bring her husband back?
I actually wrote that
Because-
down. I put, why is she upset?
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks ago she said, hey, it's fine as
Maybe
long
because
as you
they were
don't talk
sloppy
about
about
it.
it.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, but now
Baker
it
found out.
sucks because it is the complete opposite of what she wanted. Now the entire, all the important people in town know what happened, and
I mean, there could
she
be
has
worse
reason
things.
to be
Yeah.
upset. But yeah, before all that, that was kind of
Well, that and Anna
Interesting.
denied it. She's like, nothing is going on between us, and
Well, there
I
wasn't.
think Mary believed her. But now, yeah, well, of course there wasn't anything at the time, but now it doesn't seem that way. Now it seems like Anna was lying to her.
Yeah, if you were Mary, you'd be like, well, this B word just lied to me.
I need some testosterone. Couch, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I thought it was a very exciting episode, and there's so many wonderful actors on this show that Sammy Rukin and Jamie Bell, Danielle Henshaw, and Seth Newmark. I mean, all of them did such fantastic work and seem to do fantastic work week to week, and it was really fun to watch with you guys too.
Yeah.
And,
We're kind of fun.
Yeah, no, you were great, and it was sort of on the big screen like that. It was very enjoyable.
I
really
blame
enjoyed
the
it.
cookies. I'm on a sugar high a little bit. Perfect.
We're buzzing
Birthday
sugar in
treats.
here.
We have, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to actually disagree with you guys this week. I actually thought last week's episode was my favorite to this date. I thought that there was a lot of character development. I'll agree with that, but I thought it was limited to only a certain few characters because I wanted to see more about what's going on the war front, and I wanted to see more of that end. I want to see more with JJ's character, our good friend John Andre.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there was a
I'm
very
surprised
Ew.
Megan,
there was a very narrow focus this week of topics, which I think is good, but since they've, over the past weeks, given us so many episodes with such large character focus, I almost felt cheated this week.
Ooh.
I can see that.
I'm not saying it wasn't a good episode. I'm just saying,
I disagree. They've been doing that all season, though. They focus more on one set of characters and the progression of their story, and then they go back, and those characters that you didn't get to see last week, well, now we're back in Setauket, and that's the way it goes. It ping-pongs back and forth.
ping-ponging a little bit.
I still can't. I think my favorite episode so far, I'm not sure if it was this one or the last one, but I feel like all of it does so intertwine so much that I just like everything. I just
You
like
forget where
the
you're at.
story. Yeah. I just kind of that's how I think, really attributes to the storytelling is because, I can remember everything that happened, but in a specific episode on its own, I don't know.
No,
There's
it's just one
there's
story.
moments,
Yeah.
that I liked, but I thought it was very cool, and we got to see a little bit of that. Even though it was kind of creepy, but the romantic side of Simcoe.
Yeah,
Right.
how interesting was that talking to Samuel Roken last week and actually, getting some history behind this character and actually finding out that he was a poet, that he wrote poetry and that he was possibly in love with a local woman. It puts a different perspective on this character.
Well, I'm actually glad that the couch is here because they have you guys are the couch.
We are the
Amy,
couch.
you know the couch because my two favorite scenes for the entire season have been your guys' scenes.
You're just
Yeah.
saying
Amy,
that 'cause we're here.
your scene when you were faux getting beat. No, hold on. Don't act like when she was pretending to get beat and she's in there playing cards that we are all just rolling.
We-
I love that.
We're cheering and laughing.
Hooting and hollering. We were
That was
laughing out
hilarious.
loud because it was so funny, and we got so excited when we saw your face on the screen as General Washington.
Yes.
I was like, yes, finally.
That's my-
I think
last
we
week-
literally cheered.
Yeah, we did.
Yay.
I love last week when
I think
Ben
we're all like
Talmadge told you off.
America.
Yeah.
That was I think the most intense scene when George Washington and Ben Talmadge
Yeah.
last week were
Yeah.
the standoff and he's like, I don't trust you and you don't trust me and this is why this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, it's first off that I had said to you earlier how much I
Thank
love
you.
that scene.
Yeah, that was
it
great.
really is.
So I had way too much fun filming that episode.
That was really great, and playing last week's episode that I get to be a part of was immense fun to film because I'm working with such wonderful actors, Michael Gaston and Stephen Root and Seth, and we really got to develop the character and introduce him. And they really, I think they did a very nice job of introducing the character. So I'm glad. I have to say, watching Sam tonight, that duel scene with those guys, with Jamie and with Sam, that was great. I mean, that was tight, and I was like, I literally thought to myself, I know I saw Jamie when I was back there.
He
What's-
whispered that to me.
I did. I was like,
saw him in episode 9.
I was like, I saw Jamie and he was shooting, so I don't think he's gonna get shot. But it really looked like it was like you just missed, big man.
Yeah.
We can't kill off any major characters yet. It's too early.
No. Oh my gosh.
3 more episodes.
Yeah, there's at least 3 more episodes for that to
Yeah.
happen.
But Simcoe was saying, like, I could cripple you. And I was just like, no.
I was actually hoping
That
he'd
would
shoot
be
him in the knee.
the worst.
Starts walking with a limp and has a cane or something. I mean, they could have gone that route, shoot him somewhere else.
Okay.
So even though we kind of suspect that he's going to live, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to walk away with no
It won't be
consequences.
easy, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to
true.
say, as a dancer growing up, as soon as they said I might cripple you, I was like, but it's Billy Elliot. He has to dance.
I love Billy Elliot.
That was so sad. I was seeing his ballet career flash before my eyes.
He's no longer jumping in the air. All right, let's talk about the episode. Now that we've talked about the fun. You guys ready? I'm a buzzkill. I'm sorry. All right, so the episode started off this week with Rogers showing up, taking a skiff out to the big boat, the Jersey, and he's out on this mission looking for Sam Talmadge because he's on a mission. He's been 4 months searching for these people that killed his one soldier and basically screwed him over, and it's been a taunt back and forth with him and Ben Talmadge. So he gets on the ship. He's with Jordan, our new friend, and he's searching for Sam Talmadge, but he can't find Sam. Sam is dead, unfortunately. But he has a friend. So I know I heard you guys say it when we were watching it, but did anyone see that was Sela?
No.
No.
And none of us knew?
different.
I did not even
I was
recognize
think-
him.
I was thinking, I was like, oh, okay, here's a new character,
Yeah.
and we'll learn more about him and his relationship with other people in Setauket, and then they start calling him Sela Strong, and I was like, that's Sela? Like, that's where he's been this whole time? He looks so different.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys remember, did he have really long hair previously?
Well, he's been in jail for 4 months.
No,
But
it
it's
was-
not-
it was
it's not
slicked
long
back
enough that
and
his
he didn't
hair-
have-
I
he
thought
was
in the very least maybe it was in a
beardless,
ponytail or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, for his hair to be that long, it had to have been long
Yeah.
in the episode.
Yeah.
It was 4 months since he was put in jail. So, I mean, I think a lot of guys can grow
The beard,
hair
yeah, the beard I
quickly.
could believe. I can believe a beard that big in 4 months.
I don't know. I can. I've met guys who can grow hair really fast. So it's like they'll shave one day, the next day you're like, didn't you just shave yesterday?
How long
Like,
does it take
how'd
for your
that work?
guys' hair to grow that long?
I just usually trim mine 2 or 3 times a week to make it short. So
Yeah.
that's just, I don't shave. I've given up shaving altogether because it just bothers me. So and I like having a beard.
Leave it to Ryan to loop every conversation back around to beard.
Every show I do, we have to talk about beards at least once an episode. That's just my rule.
Point of pride.
I did like that it was somebody that we already knew, though,
Right.
because it put a different twist on his character as well, because he's kind of helping Robert
And
Rogers. In
I
order
think
to
it
get
gives
home.
us an immediate seriousness because we know his relationship back to the town, and we know that he's going to be able to find the people that they're looking for. So I think good.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I missed it, but does Richard know that Sela's on the ship?
I don't think anyone else knows
Yeah.
that Sela is being removed from the ship, other than Rogers, because he's got the orders.
Right.
And as a prisoner, it's not somebody, he's not in the army or anything, so it's or in military of any sort, so it's not somebody they're watching out for. So the only reason I think they even knew was because Jordan recognized him being
Yeah.
from Setauket. But I don't think that's something they necessarily keep track of as intensely as they would as somebody who was in the military.
They have stellar record keeping in this time frame. So
Yeah, no,
I mean,
but
I'm sure that
obviously
easy.
they know somewhere, but I mean, I don't think it's as recognizable or it would be as, I mean, there's records of all of us, but we're going to know where, Brad Pitt is before we're going to find out where Kristin Carole is. I
He's
mean,
not
it's just
a
lot easier.
priority to look after.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, and his offense was just getting involved with a brawl, a tavern brawl, compared to, say, somebody who murdered Captain Joyce. The priorities.
put him in the pickle jar.
So sad.
I mean, other Captain Joyce, not this Captain Joyce. Anyway, back to the plot. So it's important, though, because now with Caleb and Ben Talmadge being involved, because we did have a quick little scene with them this week, and Ben saying it's like doing homework, and his new position as Major Ben Talmadge. So he got a battlefield promotion. Maybe one day you guys will get promoted as well.
I'm a general.
But
She
you could
outranks
be you could be General of the Army, which is the
I'm
highest
just-
general there is.
I mean, if I'm in the
That's
same
George
rankings
Washington
as
high.
George Washington, I think I'm doing all right. Right?
Yeah, you're doing,
Keep in
you're
mind-
doing great.
Not only can we demote you, we can also kill you. Just keep that in mind.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
You know what? Dylan can take that seat, no problem. Okay. We miss you, Dylan. Hey, you know what? While we're stopped, let's change the subject.
I don't know.
Let's talk about American
I brought
Express.
cookies.
Hey, Steven, tell us about American Express.
My name is Yvonne Saravia, and I am a home health aide. My credit score was very high. It was like 700 something. Then I had like a hiccup in my finances. Everything just crashed. But I don't crawl under a rock and cry. It takes baby steps to get back. So that's what I am doing.
With American Express Serve, you have a full-service prepaid account that helps you handle your money simply and affordably. There's no credit check. You can pay your bills online and reload cash for free at over 15,000 locations, all for $1 a month, and all backed by the 24/7 service of American Express. This is what membership is. This is what membership does.
Get started with an American Express Serve card at CVS Pharmacy or Family Dollar today. Terms and restrictions apply. Go to serve.com for more details.
Hey, welcome back. So first off, I'm going to apologize. I'm not really going to kill General Kristin Carole or demote her. And thank you for bringing food today, Kristin. You're the best. You look so pretty today. You're so smart. You're so wonderful. You're so amazing.
Well, we brought because it was Amy's birthday, I got special like happy birthday stuff. I figured cupcakes was better than an actual cake. It's not as messy.
And they're patriotic.
Yeah, because Memorial Day,
So
they had like a
fitting.
whole special table, and I was like, this is perfect.
They were really made for turn.
And
Let's face
because
it.
we cheer for the Patriots, even when you wear British dresses. So, Ian, you were just saying during the break here that you had an interesting moment during this scene. I want to hear about it.
I did, actually. Watching this scene, it doesn't happen very often as an actor where I engage a character to the point that I actually am watching something on the show and it affects me emotionally. But when I was watching the scene with the ship and seeing how the Continental soldiers were being treated, it was something that I've done a lot of research on about how the soldiers were treated on the Jersey ship. It was called the Jersey.
Yeah, that was
And,
Jersey.
It made me a little angry. Just seeing it portrayed so wonderfully on the show, it hit me in a negative way that I found interesting. It's happened. It happens occasionally. You know, as an actor, you gotta detach from a role. But in that moment, I thought
Tugged on some heartstrings.
it's some other strings.
And they've did a good job in this couple episodes recently talking about the difference between the way that the British soldiers were treated by the Americans and the way that the Americans were treated and how they were beaten and tortured and that kind of stuff, but how we still had a code of conduct. And they've talked about that a couple weeks, and I think we saw that really intensely this week.
Yeah, you saw a taste of that in the last episode when the Simcoe made the exchange, and John Simcoe, Sammy Rookin, had that fantastic little glimmer in his eye. They really, some of these actors are pretty
Does
fine.
that so well.
Yeah.
I liked when we talked to him last week, and he was saying how sometimes he'll just sit there and he doesn't purposely freak people out on set, but you know,
He
the
stares
actress
at
who
them.
plays Anna Strong said that she like, you know,
it
Heather
out.
Lind was like, stop looking at me like that. He's like, I'm not even doing anything. Do you guys stay in character as much on set, or do you kind of, you know, goof around a little bit more, or just?
I think it depends on a lot of things. I mean, every actor has their own toolbox that works for them. It's a pretty remarkably friendly set, so there definitely is room, at least my experience.
Yeah.
There definitely is room for, you know, playtime in between takes, which some of my earlier scenes, I guess particularly for my character, I kind of needed to be like, okay, let me get dressed and now be friends with these people because otherwise it's too awkward. But no, I think some of the more, at least for me, some of, especially the heavier moments, the more emotional scenes, the show moves pretty quickly. And so there are definitely times that you kind of just have to like stay in it.
Yeah, because you can't have that serious dinner scene that you had and then like start laughing too much because it was Robert Rogers like kind of,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
threatening you
Yeah,
guys.
and I think, you know, I think because it is such a large cast, and I mean, the actors on the show, like Ian mentioned, are so gifted, and so generous in the sense that they give so much to the other actors. I mean, it's rare to step onto a set and immediately feel like you're part of that world. And I would say in that sense, the relationships just continue to build, both on camera and off, as our characters and as our actual actor selves. But yeah, I think it really depends on the situation, on the actors that you're working with, on the director. It was so fun to be part of the beginning of this show, to sort of feel that out. What is the dynamic here? Is it okay to joke around, or are we in character the whole time? And it kind of varied episode to episode.
Is there different directors for each episode, or is it one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, different directors for each episode.
And I think that varies too, depending on who the director is
yeah.
and their
Yeah.
type. So
Yeah, well, the
Certainly.
scene that you mentioned when we were playing cards, that episode, Adam Davidson, who was so fun to work with and such an amazing, amazing gifted director, he was very much about, like, let's play. Every scene before we moved on, he had us do one that we just improv'd. He was like, okay, throw the script away, just go for it.
Cool. Wow.
And I've never experienced that with the director, especially on a drama. And he really found the fun and found the comedy in an otherwise pretty dark show. So that, to me, I felt like it was such a privilege. You know, there are other directors who are much more by the book, serious, this is our world.
So sometimes you're able to kind of have creative control and just kind of
A little. I mean, of
make
course,
it
you
your
never know what
own.
they're going to use, but they did end up using some lines that we just came up with on the spot, you know, in creating, for that particular episode, in creating Iris, there was a lot of just play around. Every take he would throw different character ideas at me. So I didn't actually know who this person was going to be in the end, because it was, you know, we probably did 15 different versions.
Oh, wow.
That's
And
kinda
playing the
cool.
Marco
Yeah.
Polo, the cards, there was a lot of, you know, the card scene was an interesting one because it was written in that I was being tortured playing cards, but it was just a very brief stage direction, maybe one sentence. And he really brought that to life in a way that I certainly didn't anticipate. So that's always a fun treat when you have a director who's so willing and eager to play.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Ian?
This is an unusual role to play, and I was called, the director who that did the last episode was a very intense Icelandic man named Eagle Eagleson, he was the DP on The Wire, and he's a very interesting and excellent man. I enjoyed working with him very much, and he anytime I would walk on set, he'd be like, the general is on the set. And it sort of helped. You know, I've said this before, but you can't really play the king or the president or the general, because that's really done by the people who are around you. Because you can act like Mr. Big Shot or everything, but if it's the look in the eye of the men and the people who are with you who give you that authority. And so for me, working with, again, Michael Gaston, Stephen Root, Seth Newmer, because that's largely who I worked with early this season, was with them. And so no, it wasn't, you know, between takes, they would give enough. They would take the piss enough that, you know, you can't really, these are long days, so you're not really going to be able to stay in that presence. But we did our best, and it was an awful lot of fun. It really was a tremendous amount of fun to play.
Yeah, I think especially, and you and I were talking before the show with Washington, they did such a good job building him up as this grand figure. And, you know, in our minds, he's this grand figure anyway. And you and I were talking about, you know, your age in relation to, all of us have this picture of Washington, you know, what we see on the dollar bill and that white-haired presidential character, not really what he is now. And, you know, you're saying about the same age as he was when this was going on, and, you know, still a little bit young in his military years. And I think that does a great job, and it portrays very well, you know, the look that they have for you and the reverence that everyone has in the show about you, even if you are just playing it straight.
Yeah.
And I think that comes off very good in the show.
Thank you. I'm glad. He's a completely unique man. I mean, in a completely unique time in our history, and he was called upon to do so much. And I said before, and I really mean, I'm truly humbled and honored to have the opportunity to portray him. He's a better man than I am, and he's a more conscious man than I am, and he really lived a purposed life, and the more research that I did, the more I was sort of taken by his greatness. So I have a great friend. A playwright, screenwriter. Now we grew up together in the business, and now he's Mr. Big Shot. And he gave me some very good advice. He said, "Never think you've got it." and always look up to the man. And I did, and I continued to research and work on the man, because there's no way to adequately really fulfill what he meant to our country and to the world, really. People who knew him. It's fun. It's great honor.
What was, since you did so much research, what did you find to be kind of the most surprising thing you learned about Washington that you bring with to the character? Is there something that you think, you know, oh, well, he did this, I have to remember that?
He was incredibly thoughtful and humble in his way, because he wasn't the most educated man, and he was always striving for something bigger than himself. He's not the oldest of sons, third son, I believe. I may have that wrong. There are all these legends about him. I would never tell a lie. Well, the show kind of proves that. Yeah. And
it's more of an omission, right?
Well,
For a cause.
Yeah.
no, I've said this before as well, but I think it's funny. In The Usual Suspects, the film, Kevin Spacey says
Love
the greatest trick the devil ever said was that he didn't exist. And Washington loved spying. It was his favorite thing about the war. You know, he had to handle a lot of things, and they make a lot of fun. General Lee, in the last couple of episodes, was talking about his ability as a tactician and how many battles he won and didn't win. But he was sort of, a lesser football. He was coaching a lesser team. He wasn't coaching the Denver Broncos. He was coaching the New York Jets. And he had to find a way to win with the New York Jets. Or at least not necessarily to win, because he wasn't going to win, and he didn't really win. He won one battle in Yorktown. But just to stretch it out long enough so that the war went on long enough that England at the time just went, this is a lot of trouble. Let's
They're like, oh, France
It's
showed
not
up. This
worth
isn't a
it.
party
Yeah, those
anymore.
Dutch are
It's
here.
not worth
Man,
it.
look at
Yeah.
this.
And so
We're
I
over
think
it.
that Washington was wise to understand and sort of keep things on the move. And he's an interesting cat. He's an interesting fox. That's what they call him, the old fox, because they could never quite get him. And tonight's episode, it was, it's fun to see. It's just fun to see. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see people talk about Nathaniel Sackett and seeing Ben up there behind the desk, Talmadge, and going, "Atta man, there you go."
Taking notes, doing homework, writing letters. So speaking of being a fox, Amy,
All these nicknames. I love it.
so in terms of your character is a lot different than some of the characters, because there may be characters historically like Philomena, but was there anything special that you did in terms of trying to get in the mindset? Because we still don't really know what side you're on, because you're kind of on both sides.
Not going to. Yes.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Nothing you can say no.
I'm contracted. It's interesting that for initially going in, just preparing for my audition, I sort of I got my hands on every piece of literature there was about female spies at the time, because I knew that she was being set up to be a spy, but I was given very little information about what the storyline would be, and found out later it was actually still being developed, so nobody knew where it was going to go. And there is an incredible world that was created by these female spies, and there were hundreds of them, but because their identity was secret, to this day we don't know most of them. Anna Strong obviously is one that we do know, and there are lots of ideas, illusions that she perhaps is Agent 335, right? Did you know? Yes.
They didn't give us,
One
they
of
didn't
those
give,
numbers.
They didn't give us
Right,
that.
one number.
Close,
There's
yeah.
a very famous
think
spy.
355.
355, yes.
I think that's right.
And at first, when I came across that, I was like, oh, maybe that's Philomena. And then the show developed. I was like, no, I don't think that one. So I definitely, tried to get as much information as I could. But like I said, a lot of it is very hush hush, and still to this day there isn't much information, which was, as much of an honor and, like you said, incredible experience it is to play these grand historic characters. I sort of had the opposite challenge of creating this woman who kind of represented a whole world that perhaps would be explored and maybe not, which was fun because I got to sort of just like play with it as it came to me, and every script was filled with new surprises, and like I said, I really didn't know and still know very little about where Philomena's kind of arc will go. When I first met with JJ, when I first got to Richmond for our very first scene, I got to the hotel and I had a message on my cell phone from the first AD saying, JJ Field would like you to call him as soon as you get in. So that never happened. So I was terrified. I was like, he's the final say. He's going to like decide whether or not I'm allowed to stay here. I don't know. I gave him more power than he has. And we met for coffee and really just got a chance to talk about a little bit about the history from his perspective and how he dealt with these female spies, because there were several. Me on the show, Philomena being the first that we meet, and kind of getting his take on it and bringing what I had found and sort of together building this world and relationship and sort of backstory, some based in reality and some fantasy that we created, which I felt like was such a fun opportunity and so liberating to walk on set and having had that work done and the opportunity to do it with him. So often you get thrown into a situation where you haven't met, and then in our situation would have been pretty awkward.
Very intimate situation right off the bat.
So I don't know, that was sort of a weird roundabout way of answering your question, but definitely it was a mixture of historical facts that I found and my own spin on who this woman was and will become.
Well, what you've done is absolutely fantastic because we love Philomena. She is so much fun.
It's so fun to play. And like I said, because the possibilities are endless and because she's not a known historic figure, they can really go anywhere with her. And so that's fun to sort of be on that roller coaster with them.
Because I know, like, when you first showed up, like, some of us were saying that they thought that you were a spy for the rebels, kind of fooling around with John Andre to get stuff on him, but then you're, like, a double spy. Because we've seen that happen where a couple of them have, been both ways. So.
And it's interesting because as I received new scripts and would find out different things, like the whole storyline with John Andre and Abigail, I got this sense of I was so upset and territorial and was like, he's mine, she can't be living with him. And so it's funny how you really do build these personal connections with the characters. I kind of have to remind myself, like, okay, that's not real life. This is part of the storyline.
Yeah, because if you said he had potentially other female spies, like what's he doing with us?
John Andre was quite the player.
Yeah.
Megan, tell us how you feel about John Andre.
I think he's a masterful tactician. I think he has a lot of tools that will help him possibly win the war, but also he's just dreamy. He's the dreamiest eyes.
A lot of tools indeed. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Anna Strong some more, since we're on that topic a little bit, sort of, not really, but sort of. So in this week, she petitions to get her husband released again, as we learned that she's done every single week, coming out and going to the judge and coming to Major Hewlett, trying to get him released, and basically the crimes that have been committed against her. They took her land, they took her tavern, they took her house, they're selling all her crops. She basically has nothing left. Except this week we do find that, and she talks about it several times, her honor. Like, the one thing that she has left still is her honor. And she uses it against Simcoe, and she uses it, and I think that's going to be a card that she's going to keep playing.
I thought it was funny she said that, too, because we're like, well, I think you kind of lost
you lost
with
that,
but... Like, well, another episode ago, I'm not quite sure about that. But, yeah, I thought that was an interesting twist, and I think she was just using that because she didn't think Simcoe knew that's what was going on. But... I think she kind of lost it. I'm still strangely cheering for her. At the same time, I'm kind of angry with her. It's kind of, I have weird emotions towards Anna now.
Well, I root for her when she goes up to Major Hewlett and things like that, and basically calls out the injustices, as you were pointing out earlier, the injustices done against her in terms of, like, this is all a scheme so that he can sell off my husband's property to his friends, and that she says it in front of basically the whole town, and then walks away. And it made me mad hearing the stuff like people were saying as she was going out. Like, I was like, ugh. Like,
oh, there's that Anna Strong again.
Patriot Princess was one. I was like, oh my God, you guys suck.
That's kind of a fun name.
I don't hate it.
But
I was just
they didn't mean it in a fun way.
No,
they meant it in a mean way.
I mean it in a fun way. It's kind of... Amazing.
I loved Anna in this episode. We've known her to be the kind of person to speak up, for things that she believes in, things that she wants. But she was just very much extra that this episode. And I lost my train of thought. But I was going to say that I do feel like she knew that Sela was on the jersey, because I remember her saying something about the jersey when she was talking to Hewlett. That just kind of triggered back in my mind.
Well,
So
she was
I'm-
basically saying that they didn't have any evidence, like any substantial evidence against him.
And this supposed letter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So she basically wanted her husband back so that
Yeah.
none of this, none of their possessions would be sold away.
Yeah. And I loved how she kind of came in and saved Abe, essentially.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a really great scene.
Oh, don't
I
worry.
loved her.
We'll
Bottom line.
get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. That's,
I had to go there.
Well, and I like that we learned too, because my initial thought when we saw her trying to get her husband back was she was only starting to do that after the affair with Abe. That she's like, I need my husband here because I'm not as tempted if he's here. But I'm glad that we learned that she'd been doing that since the beginning. So there is love there. I mean, we kind of talked about that. We don't know how her and Sela hooked up. How they became a couple and got married and everything like
and
that.
maybe they'll
so.
explore that in coming weeks.
I hope so.
So, and I like to this week.
I'll say something actually.
Go ahead, Red,
I find
do
it fascinating that to really look into that time period and to see how, how when we love someone, whether we're able to be with that person or not, and you really see it played out here. I mean, you see people. Mary seemed to have had feelings for Abraham's brother before Abraham's brother passed, and now here's Anna Strong, who obviously has feelings for Abraham. Abraham has feelings for Anna. And I really enjoy watching that and seeing that, and realizing how fortunate we are today. I mean, you're a happily married person. I'm a very happily married person. I got lucky. She could have done better. And so
Always marry up, right?
I did. But to live in a time and to watch that time and watch relationships that sort of forbidden relationships. Life isn't like that anymore. Relationships aren't so forbidden anymore. So to see them sort of come to fruition the way that they do on the show, I think is really fabulous and fun and awkward and strange, and that's part of the joy of the show. I mean, there's a lot of Simcoe is strange. Andre is strange. I mean, we're all Kevin McNally doing fantastic work. I mean, you can't. Mary, who plays Mary Woodhall,
Megan.
she's just around the whole horn. Bern Gorman. I mean, these people are doing fantastic work on the show, and to sort of dive into this time period, it's a unique experience, and I just liked watching. I just wanted to throw that in there. It's a little out.
And they talked to a couple weeks ago in the episode when they were burying Thomas or doing his grave ceremony, and how she talked about how she began to love him, even though their marriage was arranged. But the way he talked about his family and the way those were what started her feelings for him, and it was cut short obviously, and she still loves the family. You can see this week she calls Richard dad or father, and he says, "I like it when you call me father." And so there is a emotional attachment there, whether it's love or relationship or what it is, but there's something there that is causing her to have jealousy or want this relationship to work.
Well, because her ideal is her family, and that's being totally threatened by so many factors in the show.
Yeah.
And that's what she said, that as a wife, I just want to love my husband.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. It's a testament to the work you guys do and to the work the writers do that we can feel this roller coaster of emotion. Because I feel like on another show, we would just be like, I want Anna and Abe to get together already. But here, there are so many different factors at play. She loves Sela. They're both already married, and so on the one hand, when we see them together, we're happy for a second, and then immediately oh no, this is bad, but we still want them to be together. And so I agree with you 100%. It is a roller coaster of emotions every single time for every character arc. It's great.
So before we got on a tangent, one of the things that I wanted to say back to the Anna petitioning thing is I really liked the point when Hewlett stepped in because Richard said, I could have her arrested. He goes, no. And he stops it right there. And it's almost like he feels for her. And he shows his softer side a lot. And he's shown throughout the different episodes, his concept is win the hearts and minds of these people, get them to like the British soldiers, and then that's how they're going to win the war, because if these people don't like them, they're going to fight against them.
You have to appeal to their emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I like Hewlett. Again, I've been saying this since the very beginning. He's one of my favorites. And I think this was, some of his softer side. And I like that we show that he's not like a tyrannical, kind of a stereotypical tyrannical, villain. Because, again, it would be so easy to portray him that way. But no, he's like, I care about this town. That sort of thing. We're all
keeps
British
horses
citizens.
in his office.
I was gonna say.
He keeps feeding the horse
takes
like
care
in
of
the
his
middle of the
pets.
scene too. Yeah. So.
And to touch up on that, I like that he was so. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done this, but he was so willing to deliver that gift to. I forgot that boy's name.
Oh, to Cicero.
To Cicero. He didn't. He could have kept it. He could have not had that delivered, and he could have searched it to find that note, but he didn't, and he just gave it over to Baker and to give to Anna, and yeah, it was a nice side to see of.
Well, and Baker is a British soldier that we've seen that I quite like.
I like him
I
a
don't
lot.
question him really at all. I just think he's a kind of a good guy. We haven't seen anything that would make it that way.
I felt really bad for him when he walked out of the house and he was just like, stupid
Man, why didn't I say something better than that?
Well, from the beginning, he was so. The reason why he wanted to be, stationed here and to be stationed in the U.S. and everything was to kind of have that ideal, that family, that life that he saw in Mary and Abe. So I feel like he has that morality behind him. That's really nice
happy
to
to be
see
there.
play out. He's happy to be there.
He kind of has an American dream, except
Exactly.
it's British.
We'll figure it out. So let's talk about that scene since we were talking about it. This week, we see that Major Andre delivers on his promise to Abigail and sends a gift for her son's birthday because, as we saw last week, he's really trying to develop a relationship that you're jealous of with his new housemaid.
Who is fantastic.
Yes, she does a great job.
She is an amazing actor.
She really is.
It's
She
Dara
bring-
Victor. Right?
She is doing amazing
Shout out to
work.
Dara.
She's really great.
She's been tweeting us a lot too, so
Yes.
thanks for that.
She may be on the show soon.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Not officially
Fingers crossed.
confirmed.
Put in a good word for you
Confirmed,
guys.
but yeah.
Thanks.
Make a call for us. But no, and that was really cool to see that actually played out because I think that's gonna, again, we talked about last week, gonna have a big bearing on her potential ability to rat him out or tell secrets or give information to the Patriots because she likes him so much, because he treats her so well.
Yeah, it's hard to betray somebody who's really nice to you, who's genuinely, a decent human being towards you. It's really tough.
Well, we saw, obviously she wrote that note and gave it to her son so that it, that Simcoe was coming. And I'll be interested to see how much she tells them because I have this feeling now, like, yeah, she's going to warn about Simcoe, but if she starts to like John Andre, is she going to ruin everything? Like, I wonder how
dedicated
she's
she
going
is.
to.
I'm going to add
Yeah.
in a little bit of historical significance that goes on. John Andre is one of the more complex characters in the Revolution because he was highly respected by the American side, and he was highly respected, obviously, by the British side. And so when I was watching the scene where he was treating Abigail with such kindness, it was not out of character in any way. When Andre, it's not really spoiling anything because it's history, but eventually when there comes a point where Washington and Andre come together, there's a great sense of honor and respect between the men. And it's one of the another interesting difference is these men were enemies to each other. Andre and they were fighting on different sides, but they had respect for each other, and they treated each other with honor. So it's just something. It's an interesting character. It's a tribute to the network that they've made a show that it's not just a black and white.
Right.
The Americans are good and the British are bad. It's interesting. It has more history is written by the victors.
Usually, and you got to think about it too in terms of like making an analogy. With Washington, think about like somebody who plays sports and you grow up watching somebody. So with John Andre, you could idolize and could want to be like, but then when you get to a certain level, you play against them.
Well, they were more, they were contemporaries. They were more colleagues than that. Not so much. Washington wasn't looking up to anybody at that point.
At that point, right?
Just to he was sort of the king, the Lord Howe, the General Howe. And Cornwallis. These are men who Washington respected, and they respected Washington. Andre was a great spy. He wasn't good. He was great. And I expect that there will be more and more of that.
I was watching a show with Benedict Arnold, and they were talking about that with Washington, and threw in John Andre's name in there as well. So I hope it gets to that point where we see more of that.
Well, the thing about Benedict Arnold that I found so interesting is, we all grew up, right? Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold was one of Washington's best friends. Benedict Arnold was held, again, in some of the highest esteem, was a great general under Washington, and the Continental Congress in Philadelphia, I'm getting a little attitude about the Congress, caused Washington a lot of trouble because they wouldn't pay the soldiers and they wouldn't pay the generals. And some could argue that Benedict Arnold was sort of forced into what happened with him, and I think that's something that, it's not for me to say, but
it's okay. This is an opinion show. You can say whatever you want.
yeah, but I work for other people, so I can't say whatever
But
I want.
I hope we get to that point where we do get to see that, because I think that would be a completely fascinating
I think that's
twist for everything.
It's not so twisty. I think that's the essence of why it's here.
But
is to get
that's
to.
the side that
Get to that point.
isn't. That's the story that's not told.
Well, this is the untold story.
Right.
And you're going to see it. And you're going to see, because these men, and I loved how it was interesting to see on Facebook and on Twitter, and there were some people who were like, why are they calling it the Culpeper ring? It's the Culper ring, and Washington's an idiot. Oh, it's okay. I always get a kick out of that. But they showed it. Culpeper, and then he's like, Culpeper, Culper,
It's like, I
Culper,
hate it.
Sam Culper, Culper. It was really very clever the way they did that. And watching these particular men, it's how Alexander Rose, who wants to be on your show, by the way, I happen to, yes, I
Yes,
Facebooked with him.
please.
I did a little Facebook chat with him today and told him I was coming. He was like, oh, jolly-o.
I emailed him
We
right
would
before we
love-
started.
Yeah,
Trying to get him in.
he likes you guys very much. He said, I'll be there next, if there's I'll be there. But he wrote the book, and it's about these people uncovering.
Yeah, it's called Washington Spies.
And these are the spies.
And that's the spin-off the turn came from.
Yeah.
So.
But I love the duality of all of the characters. I mean, John Andre, even Washington. Like there's an element really to all of the characters, and we're just starting to delve more and more into who these people are, where as an audience member, I'm never sure who to trust. They are honorable men, and we know that from the history books, but they are brilliantly talented spies, which I kind of love, because removing myself from the show and just being in the audience, it pulls me in, and you start looking for, there was the egg in the background in one scene, and then it wasn't until the next episode. There's so many little subtleties that I almost feel like I can't wait for the season to be done, and then go back and watch it again and find all of the looks that are exchanged that you didn't catch, and the little things in the background. And I think that the writers and producers are doing an amazing job at really showing both sides to every character.
I saw that today. I went, because last episode, I think it was last episode, when they were like, he can read, Cicero can read, and I was like, okay, all right, I get it, they can read, and that's unique, and it's very unique, but why are they, and then I was like, oh, because she can write it and he can read it. Craig, you're very good. You're good. Very good.
When you said about the egg, even Simcoe, while he was sitting there today, was peeling an egg, and I was like, was that
waiting.
something that Nathaniel left behind? Was something going to be on there? I was
waiting
suspicious
for a
of all of
message
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Maybe
subtleties.
Mr. W?
Yeah.
Who's Mr. W? The subtleties in all the episodes too. I mean, even last week when they're talking about when he was talking about how British people eat, and they would switch hands.
Yeah, and then there was
and that's what gave him away as a
That
spy.
was really good.
So
that was fun to watch.
So
See,
crazy.
the actors, and we're recurrent. I mean, we didn't start with the show. We joined the show later on. I mean, there are 10 actors who are series regulars on the show and who have been given to it. So we're sort of fortunately sitting in with you guys. But also the writers. I mean, Craig Silverstein is the executive producer of the show, and these writers, Aida and Mitchell Axelrod and Michael Taylor, and those are the ones that I've worked with and that I've met. These people work to the bone. I mean, the actors sort of get to be the faces of the show, but the hand and the heart of the show are with the people who spend 50 hours a week in a room trying to figure out little things like that can make audiences get very exciting. And I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to meet the people at AMC who are so behind the show and giving so much of their attention and energy to the show that it's no wonder that it does grab people the way that it unfortunately grabs you guys.
I think they have a big challenge too, in the sense that, it is television, so there has to be a certain level of drama to keep people watching, and at the same time, it is history, and that balance, how accurate are they to the history books versus what do they dramatize for the sake of TV? I think has been a really interesting road to watch them figure out and kind of balance and not make either side upset.
You're using actual people. It's not like Mad Men where like
Right.
you're able to follow, certain big events happening, but there wasn't a Don Draper.
Right.
So,
But with George Washington, and I can speak, and let us know if we're
You talk.
No.
We're here for you.
Well, we're here for you. But with Washington, I know Mitchell Axelrod, who wrote the episode and who has been part of this show from the beginning. You know Mitchell?
No, I haven't. met
Very,
Mitchell.
very smart man. And I remember there was one moment where we were shooting, and he came over to me and he goes, "You know, you're not doing that right?" I went, no, it wasn't that. It was because we spent hours, and I have a man named Daniel Shippey from the Breeds Hill Institute who I spent hours on the phone with through the whole process, trying to get this man, trying to find the absolute truth of the history of the man, because there are hundreds of thousands to millions of people who love the man that I'm fortunate enough to portray, and they'll catch any little moment and they'll say, that's not how he did that. So I was fortunate enough to have a man who would say, no, that's not how he did that. And I took one moment, I don't even know if I'm supposed to, I took one moment with General Scott, I will say it. Isn't that kind of what the show's about?
Yeah.
All right. I did this one moment where I looked at General Scott, the scene where I say you're going to the front.
We sent him off.
We send him off, and I'm going to make him a major. And I knew that General Scott's a bit of a pill.
We don't like him.
Well,
You're
no.
allowed.
And I did one take where I sort of gave him a little bit. You're going to the front, buddy. And Mitchell came running out, and this was late in the episode, and he's always been like, "You're on, you're in, you're in, you're the guy, you're the guy." And he came over to me and he goes, "Why'd you do that?" And I went, "Because he's a jerk, man. Isn't he a bit of a jerk?" And he looks at me, he goes, "How would Washington do it?" And I said, "He wouldn't do that. He'd be more political about it, because there's going to be a moment where, and more importantly, he had great respect for General Scott. And though he was not a great spy master, General Scott, he was a fantastic general." And there's a moment, and my wife looks at me, she goes, "Why did you say he was a fine general? Like, that doesn't seem right." And I was like, "Because he really was. He was a fine general." So they're coming at it from every different angle, and they are finding some drama within that is outside. But certainly, I can speak for myself, working with them on Washington, they want as much authenticity as they possibly can find, because that's really where you'll find hopefully excellence from. And I think that every member of the cast, every member of the writing staff is giving their heart and soul in the freezing cold to this.
Yeah.
The show.
And I think that is what allows the entire cast and crew to have fun in that world, is that there are moments and there are characters that they have chosen as a collective to be as authentic as we possibly can with the information that we have. And I think that's what sort of frees up the other side in, my storyline, for instance, I think is a glimpse into, well, this wasn't all dark and serious. There was fun happening, and there is room to play here. But I don't think that would be allowed or embraced by the audience if there weren't, I sort of a tribute and a way of honoring these incredible men and women who shaped our country.
Made our country.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so we're running short on time, so we need to talk about Simcoe's return before we run out of time, before they kick us out of the studio. So Simcoe's back this week, as we learn, and I was hoping for more tension, I think, when Abe found out. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, we knew that the fact that Anna lied to him about the whole thing, we knew that was going
Something
to
was
come
gonna
back.
happen.
Honestly, I'm okay with them, you lied to me, and then, okay, well, let's move past it. Because they do touch on it. I'm okay with them moving past it because the rest of the episode,
They build it up so well.
With him being here, it was built up with so much tension. So I'm okay with, the drama of, oh, you lied to me. I'm over that.
It was balanced out very well with every other scene.
Exactly.
With him in it. I was expecting Anna to knock him upside the face with an ale mug when he followed her.
Pinned her back, looking for the laundry.
Yeah.
I want to see Simcoe try to woo Anna. Is that weird?
No.
Yes.
Just because at the end where she's like, you never know where fate's going to lead us. And I just think because I want to see what Samuel can do with that, because I think he can make it really interesting.
He already is.
Yeah.
It's so cool to watch him on the screen and how he portrays Simcoe and how he's so creepy in his ways, but it just seems so genuine.
I feel basically he was almost going to tell her, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah,
One in a million?
he genuinely feels, for her and cares about, but it's not executed in a way that's conventional and acceptable per se.
Well,
He's so good at that.
And just the way he was talking about it, I mean, to go back a couple episodes, he was being tortured by Caleb and by Ben, and one thing that he held on to was his love for Anna. And if we kind of shifted the point of view for the story a little bit, I mean, if he was our main character instead, that's something that I think a lot of people would root for.
If George Clooney said that, in any movie, they'd be like, that's romantic.
Exactly. So if we shifted our views a little bit, it would seem less like an antagonist role and more like a protagonist role. And every character, really well-written characters, every one of them thinks of themselves as the protagonist in their own story. And so I think we really see that with Simcoe. And I agree with you. I want to see where that goes.
I was actually surprised when they had the whole scene where he stops Abe at night with all the soldiers. Whenever I was watching it, I didn't realize at first that he was actually doing it because of Anna. I thought it was something totally different. And I was like, oh, wait, no, he's fighting for Anna's honor.
Yeah.
I got it. Because the way that they approached the scene was like, oh, he's out for blood because of the ambush and he knows everything and the jig's up. And I was really surprised by that. That was a good little twist.
That was a good twist.
So
I wasn't expecting that either.
And then I wasn't expecting either that Abe would go tell on him either and bring it up.
That backfired on him, didn't it?
So, but that set up for a pretty good intense scene here because he basically challenges him to a duel and says, we can settle this, like men. Let's just go out back and shoot each other.
That was probably my favorite scene in the show, in this episode. That duel scene was really great.
No, that was good. And I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier. We don't think that Abe was going to get shot and killed, but that didn't mean that the suspense had dropped anyway. I was sitting on the edge of my seat going, well, is somebody going to get hurt? Is he going to kill Simcoe? What's going to happen?
I thought if anything, any one of the British soldiers standing around Abe would have gotten hurt because they were standing precariously close to him. But I was actually thinking if Simcoe dies, I'm going to be so upset.
Me too.
Because his character is fantastic.
And they even showed, too, in the scene when he turns full body to let him shoot at him.
Yeah.
And right before he shoots, he winks at him. And just sort of one of those cocky, do it, do it. I dare you, shoot me. And just to show his cheeky attitude that he continues to have throughout all the episodes.
Adding insult to injury to the already a challenge. He's kind of challenging.
It just reminds me of that scene in
further.
Back to the Future when he winks at him and then he
I like how neither either person, they didn't flinch at all either. I mean, I feel like if somebody was going to shoot, I mean, I know, with honor, you're going to try to stand there like a man and all that kind of stuff, but I still think it's a little loud, just a little duck to the left
I like the contrast because, you're right. Simcoe turned full body and winked at him as he's shooting at him. And we have Abe, who turns to the side to provide a smaller target. And then when he's getting ready to fire, is kind of like, oh, gosh, he's going to shoot me in the kneecaps.
And Baker even said beforehand, he's like, there's no shame in turning side. That's perfectly acceptable. No one's going to think less of you if he would have lost the coin toss. And I did like the coin. The head was a snake on the side that was Simcoe.
It was a nod back to a couple episodes before it was the coin. It
Robert
was
Rogers.
the same image for the coin Robert Rogers had. You know, he who conceals himself or is revealed, I think is what.
Well, and
yeah.
think I like the little turn pun where he's like, you can turn and there's no, you don't have to feel bad about that. When we saw, the other episode where Abe, for basically being a spy, the other soldier, the American rebel, was like, I think you're kind of a wuss for doing that, not fighting on the front lines. And here Baker is kind of saying to him in a way, there's no shame in turning.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was a little nod to that.
I think so too. So do we have more things that we need to cover on the Turn episode number 7, Mercy, Moments, Murder, Measure?
I would just like to point out that Richard pretty much saved both Simcoe and Abe's life this episode.
I thought it was interesting that Anna actually thought that Simcoe should have been killed. Like, I actually did. I was kind of with Abe where I was like, wait, you were actually trying to convey to him that, and Richard was in on it? Like, I didn't catch that at all. So
Me neither.
I would have also done what Abe ended up doing, because I didn't see that part of it at all.
But that does show, and as we've seen each week, Abe is progressing into a little bit more violent of a character.
Exactly.
Someone who's potentially gonna do something. Each week he takes a step closer to the person who will do what it takes to, survive, or do what it takes to have this spy ring be successful.
And I
Yeah.
think the courage of taking part in this duel is totally part of that. It's a testament
think
of how
so, too.
far he's come along with, being violent and being courageous in the face of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That's a great way to wrap up this show, I think. So I think that is about all the time we have, with the exception of talking about iTunes. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You can find us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Check us out. You can also get Maria Menounos' show on there, Chasing Maria Menounos, coming up for the season finale this year on Oxygen. Guys, tell us where we can find a little bit about you guys. If people are interested in finding out more about you. Amy?
Lady?
The interwebs. Yes, I'm on Facebook and Twitter. IMDb is an amazing resource. I also have a website, which is my name, www.amygumenick.com, and I keep that updated pretty regularly on what adventure may be next.
And your Twitter?
Twitter, also my name, @Amy Gumenick.
All right. Ian?
I'm fortunate to have my name also, Ian Kahn, Kahn, IANKAHN, and yeah, I'm on Twitter, and it's been fun.
For fantasy baseball and for tweeting?
Well, yeah, no, fantasy baseball before, and now it's sort of Twitter, turn.
Done. Turn.
Turn.
Hey, ladies, Joyce, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter @JAzuri and on Instagram @IRUOJA, and no more shield.
No more shield.
turn.
No worries. Megan?
You can find me on Twitter @TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. You can also find me on the Attack on Titan and Sword Art Online AfterBuzz panels that are also on Sunday nights.
You can find me, Kristin Carole, on Twitter, Kristin Carole 13. I've also been doing some Anatomy of a Movie interviews and Spotlight on, so be sure to check those out.
Well, guys, all right. And as always, you can find me @RyanHooks92 on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the Instagram, and on the Snapchat. Thank you guys so much for tuning here. Amy, Ian, thank you so much for being here.
you so much.
This is your AfterBuzz TV turn for Lieutenant Megan Salinas, General Kristin Carole, Captain Joyce, Colonel Ian Kahn, Specialist Amy Gumenick. I'm Captain Ryan Hooks. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.